We are go time.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Dave and Trish with our recalibrated Thursday webinars. And so we thank you all for joining us. Looks like we got the crowd rolling in, so I'll just fill in with some idle chatter while everyone's audio comes on here. But I do want to start differently than we have with our previous webinars. If you've been a regular attender of our Coronavirus Resources for Printers webinar series, that intro is gone and the focus of our webinars have changed, and just want to explain that just a little bit while we're gathering our crowd here. And so the page that's on your display right now, coronavirus resources for printers.com, that page still exists, but we've changed the focus on how we're doing this. So as you see in the video that's on there, if you go to that page, this video, play that on your own. You don't have to listen to me talk twice at the same time here. But long story short is coronavirus is still a thing. We get that. But we have this overwhelming sense that so many of you are kind of over the hump, still fighting through a lot of it, of course. But as I say in the video, we're pouring gas in the tanks and ready to rev the engine. We're ready to blast past coronavirus. So it was the right time for us to kind of wind down the coronavirus focus of the webinars. And so we've changed that. So long story short, the page that's on in front of you, coronavirus resources for printers.com, everything that we did with the webinars is still there. You can scroll down and you can see all of the previous episodes. That's still there for you. The Tuesday webinars are gone, except in this format as recordings. But this webinar, the Thursday webinar, continues to live on because that is where we're diving in deep into the things that are relevant for marketing ideas for printers subscribers. Everyone is still welcome. We invite people that want to check us out to do that. Check us out. But that is the shift of this focus. One other thing that I'll point out, and Trish, if you can scroll down just a little past this video here, is if you're not signed up for the Sell More Printing webinar series, that's that first link. And boy, if you're not already signed up, I would encourage you to follow that link and sign up for that. A lot of the same momentum that we had with the coronavirus series will continue in the Sell More Printing webinar series, but it won't be dialed into coronavirus necessarily. It'll be that bigger topic of exactly what that title is, helping you sell more printing. So that's today's introduction, and we are now going to transition over to Trish. Trish, you got some good stuff to share with us today. All yours.
All right, thanks, Dave. Dave mentioned that these Thursday webinars will live on, so maybe you're wondering, well, where is that? On the back of your control center, you may or may not have noticed we made a quick update next to the View Your Site link in the upper right in blue, and I'm going to zoom in. It says View Weekly Website Tutorials. And if you click on that link, it's going to take you to offshoot of our website, MI4P website video tutorials. So these Thursday webinars will start to be placed at this location. And so you can either access it from your control center, and or once you open that link, feel free to bookmark this. But after today or later on today, today's webinar will be added to this link here as the latest episode. And speaking of the latest episode, we are going to continue on with workflow. When I initially started on this topic, or how I envisioned this, was more of a best practices, but it's kind of evolved into more of a deep dive and showing you all the different aspects of workflow. And actually, one of our current subscribers did have a question on the tabs that I'll be going over today. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Well, let me give a little bit of further ado, because you mentioned that people have questions. And so if you do have that question, I do want to encourage you, throw those questions into the webinar's questions panel, and we'll do our best to answer those live during the webinar. If we have to scoop them up afterwards, if time doesn't permit, we can do that too. But if you have questions, send them on in.
All right, thanks, Dave. If you select the Workflow tab in your Control Center, the system will default to the View Workflow tab. And if you watched last week's webinar, which is the very latest one on this new website tutorial webinars page, I covered the View Workflow tab. Let's continue on, and I'm going to go over the Job Status, parentheses, Work in Production tab. So selecting this Job Status tab, This would be considered a snapshot of the jobs that are currently in production at your website. Um, these job statuses here, so I'll show you a few more. There's in production on the left, there's proof, there's shipped, and so forth. If you're wondering how to populate this so there perhaps might be more statuses, if you go to my website, e-commerce settings, job status, this is the area where you can edit, delete, or create a new job status. This list is related to this list on the left under status. Right now I have in production and proof response received checked. I'm going to check all of these and you will see a couple more of my job statuses that have jobs in that status. So once we select all these on the left, and by the way, you can show as many or as little job statuses that you would like on your screen here. But if we scroll down, I have a couple jobs that I had moved into the bindery/finishing status. I have one in a job status called quality control, and I have another one here in what I had called on hold. So depending on which jobs you have in which status, you can show them here. The nice thing about this page or this tab called job status, you can bulk change or mass update a status from one to another. You can even drag and drop a job from one status to another. So as an example, maybe I want to select all of the jobs under the in production, or maybe I want to select just a few of the jobs under my in production tab. You can decide to bulk change these by selecting bulk actions apply, and you'll get a pop-up here, or I should be getting a pop-up. Otherwise, I'll refresh my screen quick because I've been in here quite a bit. Update job status. You'll get a pop-up here that you can update the job status from in production. You can choose from a list of any of your other job statuses. So you could mass update all of your jobs that are, say, in production. Let's just say we'll mass change them to in bindery and finishing. You can also decide if you'd like to notify your customer of this status change. They will receive an email saying your website name has moved your job to whatever job status this is. So I'm going to show you what this looks like when I mass change these. And it says, whoop, if you saw that in the lower left, it says these 18 jobs have been moved. Let's go down. Here's bindery and finishing. All of those 18 jobs that I had under in production is now moved to the in bindery/finishing job status. Also on the left, if you would like, you can go and select some dates. Right now, the system defaults to 3 months back, 2 months back, I should say. If you need to go back more, you may. If you want to go back to a smaller time frame, say maybe even June 1st to today, you can decide the dates that you want to view the jobs. You can also drill down to a particular company, branch, or contact. So maybe you want to hone in on a particular company that has a lot of jobs that you want to mass update the status. Feel free to drill down to a particular company. You'll only see the jobs that pertain to that company or branch or contact. And then you can, again, feel free to choose all the ones that you want to move to a particular job status. So maybe in this case, I only want to move, oh, let's say I deselect half and half of them I want to move. And again, I'm just going to move back to the in production status. I'm going to say yes, I want to notify my customers. Yes, go ahead. And so now I have 5 jobs that now have moved back to in production. Again, this is just to show you how you can mass change a job status. Now I did mention drag and drop. Let's say I have one of my bindery/finishing jobs that I want to move to, let's say in quality control. When you hover over any of these lines, you get like the crosshairs on your mouse button. You simply select your job and you can drag it down to the job status that you need to and drag and drop. So let's see if it'll let me drag. Oh, on the left here, sorry. So now this is saying that we've dropped it into in quality control. Again, would you like to notify your customer that you have changed the job status, yes or no? I'm going to select no in this case. So they will not get an email that you have changed the job status, but you know that you've changed it because if we scroll down, there it is in the in quality control. Now, I won't get too deep, but if I was to go back to workflow, and if I was to choose that category, you can also see that it was in quality control. I'm not going to go too deep in here. But job status, work in production, again, are not the completed jobs. They're everything that is not considered completed. You can mass update. Maybe you don't even want to see all these statuses. Maybe some you don't use, or it's not something that you need to see for a particular company. Feel free to deselect the job statuses that you don't need to see to limit what's on the screen. So this could be powerful depending on how you use it, if you want to use it. There's also a video tutorial on the left here that'll probably take a higher dive at the job status tab, but I got a little bit deeper, I believe, than the video tutorial. But again, job status, mass update, drag and drop, you can notify your customer and so forth.
Trish, I have a really important question here. What
Let's
is
see if
the
I have a really
plural?
important answer.
Is it statuses or stati?
Oh, that's a
Anyway,
good question. Maybe it depends. I'd say statuses, but
all
we'll go with stat.
right.
All
All right.
right.
Enough of me.
Going
Get back
on.
to the cool
Yeah,
stuff.
no problem. Activity log. So that's another tab within the view work or within the workflow tab. This is a rundown, a quick snapshot, or a quick reference of items that have recently come into your print shop and they might require your attention. Now, I haven't done anything today, so that's why nothing is showing up. I haven't really done too much because I've been gone a couple days, but you can go to other, last 7 days, yesterday or today. If you go to other, you can go back as far as you want, and then you can start seeing the activity of jobs that have come in that may need that require your attention. I have files that have come in, or at least one file that was unattached to an order. I have a file that was added to an existing order. I've had a couple estimates that were declined. I've had a couple, oh, at least one order submitted here, and then quite a few orders that were approved, proof response, and some notes added. So again, the activity log could be considered a quick reference or a quick overview of activity that has happened that may require your attention. And it says here, don't consider this as an archive and so forth, but do use this as much or as little as you feel the need to. Similar on the left under activity type, and if any of these are minimized, you can select the down arrow to maximize them. You can decide the activity type by selecting the check mark in these boxes here. Now I don't have inventory selected, so let me check inventory and see if anything populates in there just to give you an example if I scroll down. So I don't have anything related to inventory, and that's fine, you may not, that's why nothing shows up. But if I did have anything related to inventory replenishment, if there was declines or an order related inventory, that category or that would show up here near the bottom. What's nice is you can also do a quick hover with the eyeglasses or the magnifying glass to get some details about each of these jobs. You can actually select the particular job to view the details and get into the job summary and so forth. So this example, it was send a file. Here's a summary, a little bit more information about it here on this screen. And again, similar to workflow, similar to job status, you can drill down to a particular company, branch, or contact. I'm going to deselect so I'm not drilling down to a particular company. And then I'm gonna go back to other and just go back a couple months just to see and give you a feel for how this can be populated. Still have one file that was sent that was not attached to it. If I scroll down, nothing related to inventory, and that doesn't surprise me. I don't necessarily have that going on my website. But again, you can decide the activity type that you want to show, and you can drill down to a company, a branch, or a contact level. You can hit the magnifying glass, look at some more details, and if you actually select the job ID, you're able to drill down and look at more details on that job.
So it seems to me like a good practice might be to come into here, perhaps maybe at the beginning of each morning, set this date to yesterday and just make sure there's nothing that slipped through the cracks from the day before, to just to hit it hard at the beginning of the day, or at least to have a notice of that. That might be one way you would want to use this. Would that be a safe way of saying that?
You know, that's a good point. If you want to quick see the activity log, especially files sent that might not be attached to an order or what have you here on the left, this might be a really good quick snapshot. If you didn't want to use the view workflow to see all the other stuff that, not to say confuse you, but that you might not need to see. So the activity log kind of narrows it down more and gives you that quick snapshot. So that's a very good example where maybe each morning or each Monday or what have you, that you want to see what's come in over the weekend or the previous day. So
So
good
really
comment on that.
same information, just looking at it through a little bit of a different lens.
That's right on, a little bit different. So moving on to our last tab under workflow, there's 4 tabs here, is send a proof.
And here's where I'm gonna hop up on the soapbox. We got a part of it coming on, but I want to set the stage. We have a
Sure.
poll that we want to launch here because if I'm gonna hop on the soapbox, I want to make sure it's strong enough to stand on. So here we go. I'm gonna put this poll up here and help me answer this question, or help us answer this question. How many proofs do you send using the send a proof tool in the control center? Go ahead and start filling in those answers here, and let's see what we got. Send a proof tool is really, really powerful, and we're going to touch on that in a minute here. But we are going to let this poll run for just a moment, and we've got enough. I'm going to close the poll now, and let's see how you answered. And the results say, survey says, even split. Some people are sending some of them, and an equal amount of some people are sending all of them. I am glad to see that none of them answered, didn't got 0 votes. That's good. So for those of you that voted some of them, we're going to see if we can move you up a few notches here. And let's do that now. Trish, back to you.
All right, so the send a proof tab, right away it's prompting you to upload a proof file because you're sending a proof. This could be a PDF, a JPEG, a PNG, I suppose maybe some other files I haven't heard of, but simply selecting upload a proof file and browse, you go to your computer or your server, whatever the case is, and choose a file to send, select open, and right away, your file that you have attached, it shows up at the top here with the date and the time. If you want to give a proof name to this, this is optional, but probably recommended so you can kind of keep track of the name of the proof. Feel free to fill in a proof name. We're just going to call it MI4P proof. And then who do you want to send this proof to? So it says right here in gray, you can add your recipients, plural, by typing in their name, their email, their company, and based on your list of accounts under accounts customers, the system will try and find anyone that starts with those letters or that name. So if I start typing in my name, I have a test customer here. We're using one of my emails. Maybe you want to send this recipient to another contact in the same company or even a different contact in a different company if need be. Again, you can go through and type. The system will find names, emails, what have you, that are have these letters in them, and feel free to keep adding as many or as little recipients of the proof that you need to. The email subject, you could certainly switch this up if you want. We default to your proof is ready to view, but you can certainly add in more if need be, if it makes it easier for your recipient to know more about it or to make sure that they see it. You can certainly override and edit the email subject. The message to the customer. Now, this is already a pre-canned message, as you can see, and maybe you're wondering, well, maybe I want to change this up, or you want to have a different pre-canned message each time. If you go to your My Website tab, e-commerce settings, there's a send a proof message about 3/4 of the way down here. Now, this is what I have due to high volume. You can see, if I go here, back to my send a proof due to high volume. If you want to switch up the pre-canned message to something different, you may do so here and select save. However, just like it says here, this message may be modified prior to sending the proof. Back in the send a proof tab right here, I can modify this message to my customer before you send it. So right here, I can change this proof message. Please get back to me as soon as possible. Whatever you need to correspond to your recipient about this proof, bullets, italicize, numbering, so you can really switch this up to kind of get your word across depending on what they need to see. So once you proof your, yes, Dave.
Well, I'm just chomping at the bit to hop up on my soapbox again. So you tell me when the right time is.
Go for it. Now it's fine.
So here is my soapbox moment, and every so often we hear someone will say, but it's just so much easier to send an email. And my soapbox moment is I want to challenge that thought. If you're having that thought, and because what you see on the screen is exactly like sending an email. It starts with an email attachment, the equivalent of an email attachment. That's the proof on the top. A proof name. We can humanize the name of that proof. which you don't see in the email, but here you can. And who are you sending it to? Well, it's auto-populating your address book. We can even send it to someone brand new. It doesn't even have to be in the address book, just like an email. And so we can type that in. Who's getting this proof? What is the subject? Just like an email. What is the message? Just like an email. So everything here is, say it with me, just like an email. And that's my soapbox moment. But it also brings a few other benefits too. Two of the biggies are that proof file. That can be a really, really, really big file. It can be so frustrating seeing those files move along if you're sending it by email and all of a sudden you're jammed up right against an internet service provider that says, I'm only going to let files of this size go through. This system can let you send mega-sized files through using the Send to Proof tool. So it fixes that problem. Another thing is it will direct your customers back to the website to respond to the proof. It keeps it in your ecosystem. So it's not just this email that goes out and hits the trash when it's done. It draws them back to the website to keep them in your system and keeps them browsing through your website. And there is my soapbox moment. Back to you, Trish.
No problem. I'm actually going to expand on that and put out another bullet that the benefit of sending your proof through the website. I'm going to go through and I just changed up the message a little bit. There's an option at the bottom before you send the proof. Do you want to allow your recipients to view the proof without logging in? It can be more convenient, but it's not as secure, but there is the option there if you would like. So I have set up, I'm going to send this to a couple of my test print buyers here. I added a little bit to the subject. I added a little bit more to that proof name. I'm going to proof my proof. Looks good. We're going to send proof. Now, what I was going to expand on where Dave had mentioned some positivities of sending it through the website. In view workflow, your sending a proof, waiting for the response and so forth will be showing up in your workflow, which is another benefit of sending it through your website. Your email obviously is not going to know that you sent it through the website and be able to keep track. So right away, when I go to my view workflow under active items, here is that proof I just sent, waiting for a proof response, set to my contact and so forth. If I go down under categories, and if I go under proofs, there's a nice little section called proofs. You can even weed out all the other things that aren't related to proofs and show just the proofs that are waiting for your customer. I have, if you remember, I sent it to 2 recipients and they both show up here. If you select that proof ID or that job ID, you can get into the proof summary. Again, the name, the phone number affiliated, send a file, here's the file, here's that message, here's what I added. So everything can be contained on your website. Also, it's showing up in your workflow. So I just want to make sure to mention that when you use the send a proof, your workflow is going to be capturing that and keeping track of it for you. So I think that is the end of workflow. We went pretty deep into all 4 tabs. Again, it kind of ballooned out of best practices to more of an in-depth, but I want to make sure to get fairly in-depth because it could be considered one of the meat and potatoes of your website. If you use workflow, if you want to see what's coming, if you want to see, again, abandoned cart, hint, that's under here under unsubmitted in cart. There's a lot of powerful things that can be done in workflow if you start to utilize that. We're here to help you if you have any trepidation, if you have any questions. There is this webinar. There is an additional video tutorial that's already been placed here, but please feel free to ask us any questions. We'll help you out. But this is quite powerful and will allow you to keep track of the jobs that are coming to and from your website.
Well, Trish, once again, your amazingness is leaking out all over the place. So thank you for bringing the good information. Thank you for those that have attended. You've given us a little more than 20 minutes of your time this morning. We appreciate that. Please give us about 5 or 10 seconds more. We're going to wrap up this webinar. We'll hit the close it down button in just a quick moment and stick around that 5 or 10 extra seconds to give us your feedback on this webinar. That's what we got for today. Thanks for coming today. See you again next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.